researchers were shocked to announce that something in the universe is killing whole galaxies. A strange galaxy die-off has begun in the Virgo galaxy cluster, and researchers are sure it's no coincidence. Something is draining the power from the galaxies, leading to a slowdown in star formation and eventually to the radical extinction of the galaxies. What researchers are observing here resembles a virus or a mass extinction on a cosmic scale. But what exactly is eating the galaxies in the Virgo cluster? What dark forces can kill entire galaxies? And why do they do this? The mass extinction of galaxies in the Virgo galaxy cluster presents scientists with a puzzle. Something strange is going on in the nearest and most massive galaxy cluster. The Virgo cluster is located in the constellation Virgo and is around 55 million light-years away from Earth. This cluster is one of the most massive in our neighborhood and an integral part of the Virgo supercluster, which is an even larger collection of galaxy groups and clusters. Incidentally, we also belong to this supercluster with our Milky Way and the local group. Researchers have focused their attention on this region in order to decipher the mass distribution in the local universe. On the basis of Virgo's dynamics, the gravitational forces within the Virgo supercluster influence large-scale structures, and even the movements of our Milky Way and all our neighboring galaxies. As the gravitational center of the local supercluster, this group of galaxies has an important signpost function if we want to understand the mass dynamics of the universe. The Virgo cluster is not only of great importance for understanding dynamics within the local universe. The cluster itself is also very lively and interesting, but also shocking things are going on in it. Scientists were astonished when they observed large numbers of galaxies perishing within the cluster. The strange thing about this is not only the most cruel way in which these galaxies are deprived of life, but also the fact that the Virgo cluster is actually one of the younger structures in the large-scale universe. It is practically still in the process of forming. Researchers suspect that this is precisely why it is also susceptible to disturbances such as in this case, a severe galaxy extinction. Its structure is not yet in dynamic equilibrium, which makes it more vulnerable. The researchers can see the imbalance in the different speeds and distributions of the galaxy types within the cluster. Late galaxy types such as spiral galaxies and irregular galaxies have a much broader velocity distribution and are more spatially distributed, indicating that they have only recently entered the cluster. But is it these older galaxies that are killing off the younger ones? Or what is killing all the galaxies in the Virgo cluster? The life force is being sucked out of the galaxies. Who would have thought that even galaxies can get sick and die? We are faced with a mystery and at the same time a scientifically fascinating fact. Many galaxies in the Virgo cluster are experiencing a process called ram pressure stripping, where their interstellar gases are being drained by movement in the hot intercluster medium. This process can cause galaxies to lose their ability to form new stars because they lack the necessary cold gases. Thermal energy, dust, and hydrogen gas serve as fuel for the formation of stars. If these elements are missing, no new stars can form, and a galaxy slowly perishes as a result. We in the Milky Way are lucky because our galaxy still has so many residual gases and particles from its formation billions of years ago that it can probably form stars for many more billions of years. We are even luckier because our cosmic neighbors are not as nasty as those of many galaxies in the Virgo cluster. Extreme plasma and heat concentrations within neighboring galaxies in the Virgo cluster are literally burning up some fainter galaxies. The hot neighbors deprive weaker ones of their gases and literally starve them. This sounds crass, but scientists point out that these processes are nothing more than cosmic tidal forces. When superheated intergalactic plasma extracts cold hydrogen gas from galaxies, the aforementioned ram pressure stripping occurs. The phenomenon is particularly present in the Virgo cluster of galaxies and probably plays a crucial role in the evolution of the whole structure. The stripping becomes particularly violent when several galaxies are moved through an extremely hot, dense intercluster medium like a kind of wind. These movements sweep almost all the free gas contingents out of the galaxies, which then inhibits star formation. The culprit in this case is therefore a strange interplay between galaxies, which absorb too much energy and thus drain the power from others. The culprit is nothing other than a cosmic imbalance. The Virgo galaxy cluster also interacts with other large structures and clusters such as the Fornax cluster and the Leo cluster. Presumably, These interactions also contribute further to the current unstable situation of the Virgo cluster and Thursday. Favor the extreme events within the cluster. It sounds crazy, but in this context, the mass extinction of galaxies could be nothing more than a kind of childhood illness of a large cosmic structure. What is a drama in detail is on the whole nothing more than a cosmic imbalance that is claiming these victims on its way to stability. These galaxies are a particularly dramatic example. It may seem strange that a system that is growing and thriving is claiming so many victims, and in the Virgo cluster, this drama is omnipresent. The galaxy NGC 4654 in the Virgo cluster is a particularly impressive example of a galaxy affected by RAM pressure stripping. It shows an asymmetric distribution of stars in neutral hydrogen gas. The pressure of the Virgo cluster causes a strong striation of the gas within the NGC 4654, creating a long, thin trail of hydrogen gas that is mainly visible on the southeastern side of the galaxy. The more gas is pulled out of the galaxy in this way, the fewer new stars will form, and eventually NGC 4654 will disappear. NGC 4388 is another galaxy in the Virgo cluster that shows RAM pressure stripping in action. Here, the gas has already been mostly sucked out. Nevertheless, observations have shown that new stars are still being formed in the areas through which the gas is currently still being drawn. However, once all the gases are gone, these processes will come to an abrupt halt, and this galaxy will also be threatened with extinction in the long run. Astronomers watch this spectacle with fascination and awe. Studying these dramatic processes helps us to better understand the development of galaxies within clusters. We are also getting an even better picture of the consequences these cosmic games of balance can have, and we on Earth may also be affected by such a game. Can our universe also be eaten? Let's consider the universe as a whole for a moment, as a complex ecosystem. On Earth, ecosystems are networks of plants, animals, microbial life forms, and abiotic components that are all interconnected and influence each other. The balance between all the mechanisms and participants involved is crucial for the health and survival of the entire system. Applied to the universe, we may be dealing with similar principles on a much larger and more complex scale. In ecosystems on Earth, we have only just begun to understand the intricacies and sensitivity of these relationships. Our interventions in the past have already led to immense disruption, which we now want to rectify, for example, through measures to save the climate and protect the environment. So far, however, we cannot foresee what damage we've already caused through our ignorant behavior, and we do not really know where the consequences will take us. Similarly, one could imagine that interventions or changes on a cosmic scale, whether through natural events or hypothetical influences from intelligent civilizations, could have far-reaching consequences. Even the emergence of our species could be due to some cosmic imbalance or whim. We were created in the wake of an imbalance, and are currently still passing that imbalance on in destructive ways until we learn balance. Much like the Virgo cluster, we can manage this, or we can perish with our world, just as many galaxies within the Virgo cluster are victims of the cosmic balance games. It sounds crass, but it makes perfect sense. Let's take a journey through the structures of the cosmos. In the microcosm, subatomic particles form atoms. Atoms combine to form molecules, and molecules form the matter that shapes stars and planets. In the macrocosm, these stars and planets influence each other through gravitational forces, and the interactions between them can trigger or prevent the formation of new stars. These processes are similar to the interactions between different species in a terrestrial ecosystem, where the extinction or overpopulation of one species can affect the entire system. Exactly the same thing happens simultaneously in the world of the smallest particles. There are also tidal forces between subatomic particles. Particles attract, repel, neutralize, or charge each other so that matter can be created. All these processes are inextricably linked. If something moves at the subatomic level, this has an effect on entire stars and galaxy clusters, just as the flap of a butterfly's wings can promote a hurricane. We humans are tiny little components of the macrocosm, and within us are entire universes of microcosms. It really is a world within a world principle, which is exciting but also thrilling. Imagine that your actions also have an influence on the universe. We humans would like to understand these connections and take our destiny into our own hands. However, when we look at processes such as the extinction of galaxies in the Virgo cluster, we can also get the silly feeling that we are nothing more than a pawn in a cosmic soccer match over which we may have little influence. Scientists who deal precisely with these questions have noted that we must also take into account the existence of much larger structures. In this context, what if we do live in a multiverse, in which entire universes can perish in the course of these tidal forces and balance games? The idea that our universe could encounter a voracious out-of-balance neighboring universe that then sucks all of our energy out of us is scary, isn't it? We know very well that eating and being eaten in the Earth's ecosystems is as much a part of the big picture as the fruitful encounter between flower and bee. It seems as though the entire universe, or even a multiverse, is a gigantic jungle. In this context, the question arises as to who or what is responsible for the balance of the whole. In terrestrial ecosystems, we are regulating factors such as climate, food webs, and geological activities that we can observe and describe. On a cosmic scale, similar regulating forces could be at work, such as dark matter, dark energy, or as yet unknown mechanisms of physics. But we still don't know what force is driving this game and what planet is following. Subscribe now and be part of every new video.